Well, thank you very much, Chairman. I will try to be concise and short. So, as you are aware, in 2014, Georgia signed association agreement with European Union, and this was really one of the major accomplishments of our country for maybe since its independence. As far as Georgia aspires to become member of the European Union, the association with European Union is probably the almost institutionally it's a last stage towards this goal, saying that there is no higher rate agreement or institutional arrangement between EU and the third country higher before the membership agreement, of course, than this one, than association agreement. But Georgia signed not just an association agreement with European Union, because the European Union has lots of association agreements all around the world, including, for example, association agreements with the Mediterranean, Euro-Mediterranean association agreements, for example, with southern Mediterranean countries, or association agreement with Chile or Mexico or other states. EU-Georgia association agreement is equally like EU-Moldova and EU-Ukraine association agreement is very special. It's almost same type of agreement as were signed with between EU and Western Balkans, which became potential candidate countries. And it's almost same type of agreement that EU signed before in 1990s, so-called Europe agreements, which been signed with Eastern and Central European states, granting them possibility for accession of the European Union. So functionally, we can say that the European Union-Georgian Association Agreement is the highest type of agreement that can exist between EU and the third country. What is the meaning of this, of my consideration about the higher level of agreement? First of all, political part of the agreement, it establishes such as close political relations between two sides that, for example, cooperation in security and defense policy is not less than cooperation with any other third partner of the EU, and even higher. I investigated, or I made research on comparing political and security provisions of association agreement with those signed by EU with other third countries, and I found that they are much deeper than, for example, agreements on stabilization and association agreements signed with Western Balkan countries, which are, some of them are candidate countries, some of them are already accession countries, like Montenegro, for example, and some of them are potential candidates just. In cooperation in different sectoral cooperation fields. So also the very deep cooperation possibilities officially in 22 sectors of economy and different other, of course, spheres, but in much more spheres, practically in all spheres, Georgia and European Union agreed to cooperate, and European Union commits to help Georgia to develop institutionally in all spheres, like agricultural sphere, the small and medium enterprises, helping them in developing this direction, energy, or would it be environment, or would it be health, education, etc., etc. So practically in everywhere. The third very important field is, of course, free movement of people. We got a free movement regime, or visa-free regime with EU just recently in March 2017 with EU. It's for short-term visits, 3 months maximum visit during each 6 months for Georgian citizens, without right to work there, of course, or without right to study, etc., which need separate arrangement for this, separate visa for this. But still, it is very big achievement because practically EU has with almost 50 countries in the world. But if we consider in our region that among former Soviet Union countries, EU has no such regime, save with Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia. So again, we say Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia, these Eastern Partnership, 3 Eastern Partnership countries shown more ambition, more interest for joining EU or becoming closer to EU than other 3 countries, and practically came quite close with this arrangement. Association agreement is not directly involved in this issue. So we had visa liberalization action plan, which was a separate process, but association agreement provided legal basis for this because it says that the 2 sides, Georgia and the EU, will deepen the possibilities for free movement of citizens, starting from facilitation, and the visa-free is considered also by association agreement as an obligation for 2 sides to reach this level. So finally, the separate process, which was not exactly the agreement based, but influenced by agreement, settled this issue in a way that we got short-term visa. But association agreement itself provides also different other freedoms for movement of people, which is very important to see in the chapter related to services and establishment. This chapter provides special provisions for free movement of Georgian workers in certain situations and in certain cases. It's not full free movement, but when Georgia establishes, for example, company, there are certain possibilities for Georgian engineers, Georgian specialists work in these companies. Otherwise, there are also mentioned possibilities for Georgian professionals to provide services on EU territory, or online services, or establish itself as a provider of services on EU territories. There are lots of possibilities, and also commitment from side of EU to facilitate possibilities for Georgian citizens to move. So the important possibility also for Georgians is, which derives from EU-Georgia relations, the level of relations and association agreement, is the participation in EU agencies and programs. So EU has almost 100 agencies and programs which work in different fields. Practically any European Union internal cooperation fields or common policies are reflected in the work of EU programs or agencies. So Georgia has got right to accede such agencies, for example, if EU standardization agency or European agencies on environmental agency or food safety agency, etc. So Georgia can accede, and what it will serve for Georgia. Acceding such an agency, Georgia will start better harmonization of its regulatory and legal environment with European standards in those fields, and also it will get better access to European market of its goods, services, etc. Then the possibility of involving in Georgian infrastructure development, European Investment Bank and EBRD. EBRD is open for any, of course, Eastern European countries, but with special package. EBRD comes to Georgia, and EIB, which is much bigger than EBRD, European Investment Bank. It is practically included in the association agreement as a strong agent, a financial agent of EU in helping to develop infrastructural projects in Georgia, especially those connecting the increasing connectivity of Georgia with European Union. And the last, but the strongest direction and the most important is establishment of deep and comprehensive free trade area between EU and Georgia. This is really a very, very important thing for Georgia, because saying simply, Georgia gets right to establish its stake in EU internal market. EU internal market, everybody knows, it's quite close thing. It has risen very high non-tariff barriers. One thing is that tariffs and the customs duties, which are not as small. I think I also made some research about EU tariffs, and I saw that the average tariff duty for agricultural goods, including specific and the ad valorem duties, if you combine them and recalculate, they amount to 14% of the value of the products, imported products. And this is important that Georgia got zero tariff duties now, and Georgian agriculture can benefit from selling its products to EU. But what is most difficult, why the penetration to EU market is difficult for countries, this is because of the non-tariff barriers. This means that the EU doesn't recognize the third country's certificates of origin. Certificates of origin is one thing, certificates of conformity to standards, and equivalency of measures, for example, like sanitary, phytosanitary fields, equivalency of measures, and it demands that the now explaining simply, it's not easy, but it demands from any product or services to be recognized by EU-based certification bodies accredited in EU. So, and even in certain directions, for example, in animal origin products, even recognition of the laboratory certificate and recognition by certification bodies of the product is not enough. You need registration, which is very not simple procedure. And the EU experts, accredited experts, to come to the country in Georgia, for example, and yeah, I'm very sorry, yeah, and establish. Well, 1 minute is, was I talking a little bit so much? Okay, sorry. Yeah, to establish, to get the permission to trade to you. So, saying in sanitary field, in standardization and technical regulations, association agreement establishes the process when Georgia's legislation, Georgia's institutional basis and regulatory basis will become in conformity and fully, practically harmonized with EU regulations and directives, and then EU will recognize any document issued in Georgia, any laboratory evaluation, any certificate, and Georgian goods and services can freely go to freely circulate in European markets. This is very important that Georgia becomes part of EU internal market in this regard, and it raises the confidence in Georgian of course, products. Now, impact on EU-Georgia-Azerbaijani trades. I think impact can be direct because if today we have free trade with Azerbaijan, this free trade will remain because free trade between Georgia and the EU doesn't impede to have free trade with other countries for us. But as regards to non-trade barriers, for example, saying technical barriers to trade, would it be also sanitary, phytosanitary standards or technical barriers to industrial products? Of course, we will introduce shortly the fully European standards in this, and this may be damaging for our trade with Azerbaijan if Azerbaijan is not rising its standards towards its exported goods standards to the level of European demands, because Georgian authorities would be so-called, they committed, and it would be Georgian internal legislation providing certain demands which is compatible and which is fully harmonized with EU standards. So this means that we need to cooperate also with Azerbaijan very strongly in these fields, and we should try somehow that Azerbaijan also takes into account the European demands in this regards in order to have free access to Georgian markets too. But also there is another topic which is very important. This is the origin, the issue of rules of origin. Association agreement provides possibility for third countries to use opportunity to cooperate with associated countries like Georgia, and to establish, for example, joint ventures, and Azerbaijan could export its goods through Georgia or in cooperation with Georgian companies to EU markets, also free of duties. It doesn't mean that Azerbaijani goods can go to Georgia, register there, and go to the EU markets free of duties. It is not possible. But Azerbaijani components of Azerbaijani goods can be included in Georgian goods freely traded to European Union. And this provides additional opportunities for cooperation between Azerbaijan and Georgia. And I count very much that there is need for investigation, and the organizations like we saw today, the economic research centers, etc. So I think they should work as much as possible in order to explore these possibilities and opportunities. This is one direction. Second thing is, of course, Azerbaijani investments can rise in Georgia because the destination of the market in European Union becomes much easier for Georgian goods and services to get in European markets. So the producers and investors from Azerbaijan are welcome, and they will be, I think, more interested in the future to invest in Georgia, to produce there, especially the goods destined for European markets. And I think this is important. We will see in the near future increasing, even we have already increased investments from Azerbaijan. We will see increasing investments from Azerbaijan. I think there are lots of other opportunities. Finally, I know that Azerbaijan is negotiating now with the EU, already started the new agreement. I hope very much that these agreements will involve and include also the provisions on approximating Azerbaijani standards with EU standards. Then when this agreement will be signed, and Azerbaijan will start approximating its regulatory basis with European standards, as it already started according to partnership and cooperation agreements signed in 1999, but will increase this process, will enforce this process, the association agreement. I think that the possibilities for cooperation between Azerbaijan and Georgia will rise, and we will get more possibilities. So thank you very much. I was told that I overused my time. Just for the end, I will, of course, advise to all research centers from Azerbaijan and Georgia cooperate more, because this is very important thing. There was no serious investigation or a serious research done on this topic, how Georgia's European integration can affect Georgia-Azerbaijani relations, and how to use these opportunities for both and increase cooperation, not increase divide between countries and create the barriers between countries, but how to use and to integrate more using these opportunities related to Georgia's integration, gradual integration with European Union. So I invite all the research organizations to join efforts with Georgian organizations. Our organization is open and ready to cooperate on these issues with Azerbaijani organizations, and I'm sure that we will find ways how to increase our trade, our industrial relations, mutual investments, and so on. Thank you very much.